Hi, my name is Alex Lottie. Today we are going to talk about a most important subject, safety at MV Transportation. We are going to talk about how in one instance of carelessness or one instance of inattention, something can happen that affects all of our lives, something that can happen that can affect innocent victims, something that affects this company and you as employees.
Katie and I first met each other through basketball at Durham Academy. In fact, the first time that we spent any time together was after both of us had suffered a pretty substantial loss and decided that we would get together and sort of talk over whatever it was that we were doing or not doing. And it was from the first time that we hung out and sat down and X'd and O'd, just really clicked with each other as far as personality, and pretty much from that time on, we were I think the word that somebody used was inseparable. You very rarely saw one of us around campus or in the gym without seeing the other.
Katie was a very intense person, and she had the drive to excel in everything that she participated in, and felt that if, as long as she could do her best, then that was a good thing. And she was blessed with attributes, and that her best was accomplished at a very high level.
Katie was involved in basketball from about the 7th grade, and I think that involvement turned into a passion over the years. And certainly being at Duke University, where there are rabid basketball fans, the Cameron Crazies, she quickly got involved there. And then after graduation, I saw an ad in the newspaper for a middle school coaching position, coaching girls, and decided to interview for that. And through a sequence of interviews, actually ended up being the junior varsity high school girls coach, which she did for 3 years. Took on volleyball after a year or two. Led her basketball team to an undefeated regular season record her second year, and really was probably heading into down a career path involving coaching high school girls.
Katie was, the easy way to say it was dynamic, but to me, Katie was a little bit of everything. If I needed someone to talk to about basketball, Katie was there. If I needed someone to talk to about just anything personal, Katie was there.
When you observe your own child over the years, interacting with other people, you get a perspective of their talents, of their compassion, of their respect for people.
We had spent a fair portion of the day together. We had been in a friend's house, another coworker's house, and just had sort of a cookout and hanging out and just being around our friends. Pretty much everyone within our sort of circle was there, and we were going out that night to a place in Durham where we go all the time, and just to have a good time and to hang out. We parked in different spots, and I got out of my car and just by coincidence ran into someone else that we knew right there in the parking lot. And as I got out and turned to talk to another friend, I saw Katie getting out of her car across the street, and talking to my friend, I know that I remember the bus going by, making the turn, and hearing the brakes on the bus, and knowing mentally, as I turned around to see what had happened, basically, why the bus had kind of screeched to a halt, I didn't see Katie.
Well, Pam, this is a story that has a lot of people shaking their heads in disbelief. Katie McClary was first hit at this intersection of Broad Street and West Markham Avenue. You can see in the last hour or so, someone has left a note here for her. McClary was described as a girl who had it all. She was a National Merit Scholar, an accomplished athlete, a gifted musician. Her parents call her death nothing short of a tragedy.
And I kept all night long in the house, kept waiting for someone to tell me and call me and say it's a mistake, or for me to wake up from this nightmare.
On September 11th, 2004, at 10:30 in the evening, in a moment of inattention by one of our employees, killed Miss Katie McClary, a young lady, 25-year-old student at Duke University, a coach, a sister, a daughter. In this one instance, this split second, it affected all our lives.
Katie McClary, on her way to engage in some social activities with her friends, was unfortunately struck in the crosswalk. The recreation of the incident, or the accident, essentially confirms that Katie was struck in the chest by the left mirror of the bus, spun around and hit the ground. The operator of the vehicle, or of the bus, in his surprise, he never saw her. He heard a noise. Rather than stopping the vehicle, he maneuvered the bus to pull over to the side. At that time, tragically ran Katie over, who was lying in the street.
I ran over and I got to Katie first, and I yelled at her to get up. And I knew that if Katie was going to get up, if Katie was going to do anything, she would do it for me. I remember the bus driver getting out of the bus and kind of coming back and saying that, and he just kept saying, I didn't see her. My fiance that was with us actually had to pull me away from him because my initial reaction was to go after him.
The night Katie died, we received a phone call. John had already gone into the bedroom, and I was in our living room turning off lights, and the phone rang. It was about 10 o'clock our time, 11 o'clock here, and it was Katie's friend Omar Bell. And the minute I heard his voice, that wasn't normal. We had only met Omar a couple of times, and he said, Mrs. McClary, this is Katie's friend Omar. And I immediately said, what's wrong? And he said, I'm so scared. Katie was just hit by a bus.
We got to the hospital, and even though obviously I wasn't related to Katie, we were close enough that one of the things that she had done from a prior doctor visit was put me down as her next closest relative, which we all actually kind of joked about that at the time, as far as there not really being that much resemblance. But she put me down as that, and so that allowed me to be in the emergency room. And I remember just waiting, sitting in that room, in the emergency room, and just waiting and waiting and waiting.
And we just sat in the living room and we prayed that our baby be allowed to live.
And then the doctor came in and said, that they had done everything they could do, but that they weren't able to save her. And he then asked if he needed to call her parents. And all I could think about was that if it was my mom, she wouldn't want some stranger calling, saying, in very clinical terms, your son's passed away. And I said, no, I'd do it. And so I went outside and I called her parents and had to tell them that she was dead.
When an accident happens like this, it is our responsibility, as MV Transportation's responsibility, to make sure that the claim is settled, to make sure that we learn from an accident like this, to make sure that the processes and the training and the oversight and the safety meetings are put in place to make sure that this never happens again. This accident could have been prevented. This accident didn't have to happen. And our purpose today is to make sure that we put the things in place, working with you, working with our safety managers, everyone being on our job 24/7 to make sure that this never happens again.
MV Transportation will recover financially from the death of Katie McClary. Morally, we will never recover. No amount of money, nothing we do by further activities and improving safety can ever bring back Katie. Her parents have lost a daughter. Her sisters have lost a sister. Her friends have lost a friend. Her students have lost a coach. And the citizens of Durham, North Carolina have lost a good citizen.
We spoke with the pastor of our church who conducted Katie's funeral service. He said to us, a really important part of this is to remember the bus driver and the impact that this has on him and most likely on his family. He told us he never saw her. We could sense a genuine remorse, and we were able to forgive. And Patty made the comment that really that we've lived by, and that is that we don't want to have this accident devastate two families any more than it has to or it does.
The operator that was also responsible for Katie McClary's death, that was driving the vehicle that killed her, was criminally prosecuted by the district attorney's office. He has lost his professional driver's license for several years. He will, suffer financially, as will his family, by his inability to work. But most importantly, he will have to live with the fact for the rest of his life that his negligent act took the life of Katie McClary.
John Beard and I, our corporate counsel, as part of the settlement of this case, traveled to Raleigh, North Carolina approximately a year ago. This was probably the most emotional, gut-wrenching day of my life, sitting in a room with the parents of Katie McClary, trying to understand their grief. I have 4 daughters myself, trying to put myself in their shoes. And as part of this process, John and I came up with the idea of honoring Katie in a way that would make her name live forever, honoring Katie in a way that would bring good to MV Transportation, honoring Katie in a way that would make sure that her name lived on and that there was good that came from this tragic accident.
We decided to honor Miss McClary by naming our Operator of the Year program across the country at all of our locations after Catherine McClary. So going forward, with this year being the first year, all Operators of the Years at divisions, regions, and national levels will carry the name of Catherine McClary.
The Catherine McClary Operator of the Year program, I believe, is an extension of where Katie's life was going.
Katie was our firstborn, and the loss of her has changed our lives forever. And we don't want her forgotten. It's very important to us that she be remembered, and be remembered in a way that does help others, and has the potential, at least, to help others. And we're grateful for the opportunity to talk about her, because that's just another way of keeping her alive.
our family experienced such a devastating loss. That will always be with us. That thought doesn't escape us. Not a day goes by that we don't think about the accident. And what we hope to do, and especially with programs like the Catherine McClary Operator of the Year Award and training for MV transportation drivers, is to utilize that loss to benefit driver safety and pedestrian safety in the future.
If there was one thing that I would say for people to know or to remember about Katie, I think it would just be her smile.
I think in closing, I would like to say that what I want to happen from this is for everyone at MV Transportation to learn from this experience, to make sure that MV Transportation is the safest company in our industry, to make sure that each one of us knows that safety is job one, to make sure that if people have issues with training or with our safety program, they bring that forward to make sure that this is our job 24/7. Thank you very much. Hi,
What is risk tolerance? Risk tolerance is the level of risk we are willing to accept in our everyday actions. Risk tolerance is how we evaluate a situation and decide how much risk or potential danger we're okay with before we take steps to reduce it. Being willing to take big risks can cause accidents because people may not see how dangerous things really are. Someone with a high safety risk tolerance might be more likely to take chances and accept potentially hazardous situations, even if there is a higher potential of an accident. An example of high tolerance for risk would be riding a bicycle without a helmet. Someone with a low safety risk tolerance means they prioritize minimizing risk and exercise caution, avoiding situations with even a small chance of injury or incident. An example of low tolerance for risk is wearing a bicycle helmet and high visibility clothing when cycling. How can I improve my perception of risk? Becoming complacent when performing your daily tasks is one of the largest factors in safety incidents. You may have performed the task 1,000 times before. It is usually some small thing you did not notice or anticipate that introduces risk and causes an accident. How can you combat this complacency? Use situational awareness to analyze the job you are about to do. Perform each task as if it is the first time. Be aware of your surroundings and take a complete look at the task and all the possible hazards with an open mind. Before you start a task, simply ask yourself, do I see the risk? Do I understand the risk? Do I accept or reject the risk? These questions assist in identifying risks, assessing them, and finding ways to avoid them. Hazard identification, do I see it? This is visual or sensory information that identifies a situation that could pose a risk. Identifying the hazard is the first step in deciding how we will act safely in our workplace. Hazard recognition is not the same as risk tolerance. Identifying hazards does not create lower risk tolerance. Risk perception is how we analyze the visual or sensory information to assess how hazards may affect our well-being. The way we process this information and understand how a hazard could lead to an incident or harm is based on our background, knowledge, and ability to predict consequences. Risk tolerance, do I accept or reject the risk? Risk tolerance is the decision-making process of choosing to proceed with, modify, or avoid a task or activity. Asking yourself what can go wrong this time before every task increases your situational awareness and helps you make better risk assessments. When you stop and think before you act on the different risks associated with a task, you will more effectively estimate the risk and your ability to perform the task safely.
As a professional operator, you must constantly see 360 to prevent collisions, especially with pedestrians and bicyclists. Pedestrians or cyclists struck by a vehicle could be badly hurt or killed. A paratransit vehicle weighs up to 13,000 pounds. When it comes to bus versus human, human always loses. In this lesson, we'll focus on procedures to help you avoid incidents involving pedestrians or bicyclists. In any situation where your vehicle is near pedestrians or bicyclists, make sure you follow these procedures.
Slow down and keep your foot over your brake. Reduce speed if you need to. Tap your horn to communicate with pedestrians or bicyclists in your path to make sure they see your vehicle. However, use common sense when sounding your horn near a bicyclist or pedestrian. If you sound the horn when you're close to them, they could become startled and might fall into the path of your vehicle. Allow ample room for them to be safe if you need to pass them.
Be aware of pedestrians near your vehicle, especially in the following situations.
Be vigilant at night or when weather limits visibility. Pedestrians will be more difficult to see at night or in bad weather, especially if they're wearing dark clothing. Be alert for pedestrians who may suddenly walk into the street from between parked cars. Always practice precaution and reduce your speed in areas where this may occur. Stop before you reach the edge of crosswalks and limit lines. This gives pedestrians in the crosswalk an extra cushion of safety. Slow down and be prepared to stop when turning into or entering a crosswalk. Even if no one is in it at the moment, a bicyclist may suddenly come out into the crosswalk from around the corner and not be aware your vehicle is coming. Check to see where customers are right after they deboard your vehicle. Make sure your path is clear and your customers are seated before you drive away. Check your mirrors and make sure they are accounted for. Be aware of intoxicated pedestrians. Know where they are before you continue your route. They can be unpredictable and can slip into a blind spot without your seeing them. Be cautious when backing up and goal. Pedestrians, especially young children, may move across your path as you're backing.
It's important to try to communicate with pedestrians by making them aware of your vehicle and your intentions. Use these methods to gain their attention. Tap your horn slightly, but don't startle them. Try to make eye contact with pedestrians. Never assume a pedestrian will wait for your vehicle to drive by before entering a crosswalk. Stop and let them pass. Never assume a pedestrian can see your vehicle. They may be distracted in some way and not aware that you're approaching.
Pedestrians and bicyclists may be distracted in a variety of ways, walking or standing with their back to the traffic, looking in a different direction, listening to music with headphones or earphones, hurrying to get out of the inclement weather, talking or texting on a cell phone, wearing a hoodie that could affect their peripheral vision and their ability to see you.
Be especially alert when children are walking on sidewalks or playing near the road. Always practice extreme caution in residential areas or near schools. Always prepare for the unexpected with children.
Young children are especially unpredictable in their actions and can be impulsive. They may run into the street unexpectedly, perhaps chasing a ball. Young children may not have the skills needed to safely cross a street. They see traffic through a totally different lens than adults and may ignore hazards and take more risks. Children have limited attention spans and can be easily distracted. They also may have trouble understanding how to cross the street safely. Most children are shorter than adults, and it's harder to see them. Smaller children also find it hard to see above and around obstacles such as parked cars or bushes, so they may not be aware of your vehicle. Children have a limited perception of speed and distance. They may not be able to tell how fast a car or transit vehicle is going, or how far away a vehicle is from them. Children may not understand the danger of moving vehicles and may not know that a moving vehicle could hurt or kill them. Be especially careful driving near schools. Many children live within walking distance of their school or ride their bicycles to and from school and may be more relaxed about safety. Drive like your child, niece, or nephew or grandchild is playing in their front yard and could unexpectedly dart out in front of your vehicle.
Be very careful when elderly pedestrians are nearby. They may not be able to move quickly to avoid an accident, and they may also have hearing or vision problems. Be especially vigilant for elderly pedestrians when you're driving near nursing or retirement homes. Bicyclists are just as vulnerable, if not more so, than pedestrians in a collision with a vehicle. In addition, cyclists can move faster and turn quicker than pedestrians. Inexperienced cyclists can also lose control of a bike and fall unexpectedly. You'll need to be doubly alert for people on bicycles for several other reasons.
A bicyclist wearing headphones or earbuds may not be able to hear your vehicle and may not realize you're close to them. Many bicyclists don't observe traffic control devices such as stop signs or red lights. Be very careful in those situations. Be alert. Bicyclists may ride into the street unexpectedly mid-block or from other unexpected places or from a different direction than traffic is supposed to be going. Children riding bicycles can be very unpredictable. Give them special attention and plenty of room. Be especially careful of bicyclists riding between your vehicle and the curb. If a cyclist is riding between your vehicle and a row of parked cars, watch for a motorist who may pull out into traffic in front of them, or for a driver or passenger opening a car door into the path of a cyclist. This may cause the cyclist to turn into your path or fall toward or under your vehicle.
Always maintain a 4-foot separation between the right side of your vehicle, including all mirrors or other objects, and the left side of a bicyclist. If you can't safely provide 4 feet of space for the bicyclist when attempting to pass them, slow down and follow them. Wait to pass them only when it's safe to do so. Here are additional safety tips. Assume bicyclists may suddenly turn in front of you. When you're passing a bicyclist, always try to gain eye contact. Start with a friendly tap of your horn. Assume bicyclists may not see or hear you, so drive with caution to avoid a collision. When you pass a bicyclist, be aware that you'll lose sight of them at some point. As we learned, intersections are one of the most dangerous areas we encounter as a professional operator. You must be attentive for other vehicles, but also be watchful for pedestrians and bicyclists at intersections as well.
When you're approaching the intersection, scan ahead to check for pedestrians or bicyclists. Before making a turn, always rock and roll to see behind your blind spots. It could save a life. Always look left, right, left. Always cover your brake when you're near pedestrians and bicyclists at turns and intersections. Be prepared to stop. Pay special attention to pedestrians and bicyclists near curbs and sidewalks who might try to cross the street at the last second. Scan your mirrors while turning at 3 to 5 miles per hour. Check for bicyclists or pedestrians who may be behind you and between your vehicle and the curb. Watch your mirrors to make sure your tail swing doesn't endanger bicyclists in the street or pedestrians near the curb. When in doubt, always yield the right-of-way to pedestrians and bicyclists. Give pedestrians and bicyclists extra space on the roadway. Don't expect them to do the safe, correct thing. Always be ready for the unexpected.
Lives are literally at stake every time you encounter pedestrians or bicyclists. They are difficult to see, unpredictable in their actions, and most will be seriously injured or killed in a crash with a transit vehicle. The most common causes for crashes like these are driver inattention, failure to see and yield the right-of-way, and failure to control speed. As a professional operator, you must drive defensively whenever you're near pedestrians or bicyclists. Keep the safety of everyone in mind, whether they're on foot, riding a bike, or driving a vehicle. They are someone's loved one and part of our community, and it's your responsibility as the professional to make sure we don't cause them any harm. Stick to these procedures and stay safe.